So I would like to introduce Justin Anderson. He is originally started attending COE in 2012 after he heard through a friend what it was all about. He is a poetic writer, and he is finding himself and once again through the spiritual path that God has put him on. And this morning, he is speaking on transformation. So please give a warm welcome to Justin Anderson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to start, before I get into the topic, I'm going to actually start by saying a few of these little sayings that I've been writing. I have 311 more I need to write before I can release the book, so it can be like, it's silly things. It's my Zen book of nonsense that I'm writing. So I got 3 little short ones, and then I'll get into what I'm talking about. So the first one is, when you fall down, the only way to stop falling is to stand up. Don't let facts tell you otherwise, or the chickens will roost naked and lay eggs in your tailpipe.
Can you say that again?
One time.
Once more, a little slower.
And then the second one is, if you're wondering whether or not you're on the right path, don't worry. As long as you have mustard in your pocket, you will never go ranch. And then the final one and then I'll get into my topic, is when your path leads you to the whirlwind, don't worry, because the sky water will take you to the moon on the back of an albino turtle.
All right.
All right, now to talk about transformation. Oftentimes in our day-to-day, we're met by decisions that even on the smallest of levels can shape and transform our lives for either the worst or for the better. It's how we choose to be affected by each situation that we come across that defines our transformation, because we can easily shut ourselves off out of fear or skepticism that we have any power to change a situation we perceive as negative. Or we can allow ourselves to be tricked by the proverbial wolf in sheep's clothing, which I have to admit, if for a time I was, and decide to follow paths that look and feel good, but transforming ourselves into a legalistic mindset with an ideology that's not so pleasant in presentation because it comes off as a holier than thou to people. And the flaw in going into that path is, like, even in the Bible, in Isaiah 65:5, God tells us, like, talking against following that holier than thou path is, those which say, stand by thyself, come not near to me, for I am holier than thou. These are smoke in my nose, a fire that burneth all the day. In other words, we can transform ourselves into that pushes people away, pushes people off of their own spiritual path, because we can affect their change, but only if they allow us to. This is only a small example of one of the many ways we close ourselves off to spirit, but we can reawaken ourselves and once again become open to transformation. All of the many ways we can experience transformation are natural. Some of them might not feel natural to us, but they are, even on the spiritual level. Sometimes they're actually painful. But, like, what is growth without some of the growing pains that are involved in it? If you're feeling stuck, we can either stay stuck as a choice, or we can choose to witness transformation, to allow ourselves to choose transformation for ourselves. And some of the ways we can view transformation on an external level is to observe or think of a butterfly, like my tattoo or on my shirt. The transformation that they go through from a caterpillar to the cocoon to complete like what looks like a mushy substance, and then they come out as this like strong flying creature. And speaking of the butterfly, Maya Angelou is known to have said, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty." And like some of those changes they seem horrible on the surface at times, but then in retrospect, we see that they were a blessing in disguise. And then another way in which we can observe in the external, the transformation is the changing of the seasons. Coming up Saturday, we have the autumnal equinox, marking the transition from summer into fall, and we're already seeing the changes on the leaves. And we can see the birds start migrate, like getting their migrational patterns ready to go, because they're witnessing on a soul level, they're even feeling the transformation of the seasons. And then from being born to then growing older over time into an adult to the seasons, these are transformations that are out of our control. But there are those that we come by choice, like transformations such as spiritual growth, healthier dieting, and so on. Like these are many types of like transformations that we do have some like choice to, because in order to grow spiritually, we have to allow ourselves to do it. In the second abundance principle here, we always read, "I understand that the results of my limited thinking are of my own doing, and that the problems and lack I experience are my responsibility to transform the right thinking followed by right action." Sometimes it's hard to get ourselves out of a rut of anxiety that like keeps us in the wrong thinking, but like that choice is still there even if we can't see it. And sometimes, as I mentioned, the painful, we all know a good workout at the gym is going to make us feel sore the next day, but we know that it will be worth it, as it will over time transform us into a stronger individual physically, and studies have shown mentally as well. This positive pain, I call that a positive pain, can also be felt in other ways from breaking addictive habits, because of that freedom that you feel when you break free from different habits you might be facing. And then also facing yourself to understand the underlying reasons that have been holding you back. And like that is one of the hardest transformations, in my opinion. But and then there are those times that may seem our only choice is to transform, to get out of our lowest of lows, but it is still a choice that we must make, because another person can't make the choice for us. They can't force us to decide to change if we don't want to change. In my light research for today's message, a quote that came to mind, but I couldn't think of the person who said it until I looked it up, and it was a quote from Ram Dass. And it's, "Our whole spiritual transformation brings us to the point where we realize that in our own being, we are enough." And then one of the biggest transfer challenges in the transformation, as I was talking, is like this is another big one, is letting go of our ego. It's like the biggest thing that gets in our way from being able to go from like this person over here that's locked in a state of like just miserable and self-pity, to the person that's open to love, to allow to receive, and then also to return that love to others. And usually, like sometimes as we're breaking free of the ego, it feels as if like we're going to break apart, but that's usually not the case. Like on the surface, it feels like it, but then as soon as we break through that shell, then we see ourselves as like this strong, like, and others as like a stronger like being. And then another thing in the Bible, another example is when Jesus, like speaking of the ego, Jesus went to the fishermen and told them that he would make them fishers of men instead of just fishing. He wasn't just inviting them to follow his path, but he was inviting them to transform their own paths through making a decision. And with all of his disciples, when he was performing miracles, he said, "You will do greater than these." He was in a way telling them, not only am I teaching you this new spiritual path and that you're going to do greater things than I have, but you are more than enough. You are more than capable. And so this is a short, this has been a short one, but like to end this talk, because I really just went by what Spirit led me to put down here, is I designed this talk not really to answer the question of, in like the how to transform yourself, because all the answers are already within you. This was designed to allow you to think a little bit, and then also to remind you that you are enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. And yes, I was at a